Here, I'm gonna open this one. What do we got? All right. So that's about perfect what you want. The amount of bait blocks we're adding. Obviously, you don't want them to eat completely through, so I don't mind seeing a couple left there. But as you can see, you know, they start out as a perfect square, and then they get rounded down to that. So. Hey everybody, Chris Shipley, Shipley Pest Solutions. Wanted to bring you along today, getting ready to service a commercial account here. So quarterly commercial account. So we've got just your regular commercial business. So think a place that's gonna have an office up front. So you're gonna have your office workers. So we have that on a quarterly program. So we're treating that, trying to prevent ants, spiders, things like that, those occasional invaders that are gonna come in and kind of make that workplace uncomfortable for the office folks. And then we've got rodent stations outside of the office shell to prevent any mouse pressure or rats possibly coming, making it inside the office there. And then we've got a break area where the workforce is going to sit out, have their break. And so that's going to be microwaves, fridges, stuff like that. And so out there, we're trying to prevent possibly ant, spiders, but possibly like German roaches from being brought in on work pails, lunch, takeout, stuff like that. So that doesn't become a hazard. So we do quite a bit of this where we're doing preventative maintenance, basically, is what we're doing. So we're trying to prevent just uncomfortable work environment as far as insects are concerned, you know. So we're trying to prevent those ants, spiders, mice, and then German roaches. So that's the last thing you want to do is go to work and worry about bringing roaches home. So and then finally, on the outside of this facility, we have 40-ish exterior rodent stations. So we've got a big black Protecta Evo Express stations is what we use. A very durable station, a tier 1. Tier 1 basically means it's child-proof, animal-proof, meaning that they can't easily open it up. It takes a key. So we have black keys that open those up, pop them open, and then it's got a paver brick in the bottom. And so that weight will keep it in place so it can't really be displaced. And so those are a fantastic station. I've used them for a long time, ever since they first came out. I got a couple samples early on when they were first introducing them, and fantastic product. And so, yeah, so I'll take you along the outside of this facility here when I'm servicing it, just going through the standard checking, servicing, getting rid of old bait. If I maybe place some stations in a bad spot to where, you know, we've had the snow melt here, even though it's February, the snow's gone. And so maybe we had a station in a bad place to where the snow melted, flooded that station, ruined the bait, you know. And so that's the last thing you want. You want the bait to be the most effective that it can be. And so you don't want it ruined or spoiling from getting wet, getting mold on it. And then obviously having enough bait. So placing enough bait to remain effective. And so that sort of Goldilocks zone, that perfect thing is to have just enough bait in there to where you might have a couple blocks left. And they'll round them down. I'm sure I'll see that as I go around. I'll show you that. But yeah, so I'll bring you along servicing the exterior, and you'll get an idea of what it's like to service some of these big commercial buildings. And relatively, it doesn't take a genius to do the service, but you just have to know what you're looking for. You know, I've done this almost 18 years now at this point, and so we'll bring you along, show you what it's like to just service rodent stations. Servicing a commercial account here that is a quarterly service, and as I'm going around, I have my bucket with old bait that's been consumed. It got wet, it's dead. My new bait bucket. We use the Protecta Evo stations. Very sturdy station. You can stand on them, grown man. It's got the entrance hole there. Good placement, huh? Look at that insulation that was torn out of the building to build a nest right there, but obviously that critter is dead. And so as you go along these buildings, you know, these are spaced out. I spaced them around entryways. We've got a wooded area over here directly against the backstop of this building. So I'll show you as I go station to station. Here I've got one station. I've got an entryway here. So you come right along this foundation. I've got another one right here. So we'll check all these and then going around. And again, we're directly adjacent to a wooded area. So you know, the pressure and the entry points are going to primarily be these entryways. And so we've spaced these around the building according to that. So we've got quite a few around this. I'm gonna open this one. What do we got? All right. So that's about perfect what you want. The amount of bait blocks we're adding. Obviously, you don't want them to eat completely through, so I don't mind seeing a couple left there. But as you can see, you know, they start out as a perfect square, and then they get rounded down to that. So I like it to where we've got just a couple left there. And typically I'll take these out, take one or two out, leave those there, and place those. But I like having just a little bit left. That way you don't have a bunch of wasted bait that could get wet or mildewy and go bad. Or you like seeing, yeah, that's about perfect. You know, if you're putting a handful of blocks in there and you only end up with a couple left, of course follow the label of the product. But yeah, and then you can see all the rodent droppings throughout there. So that looks like mostly mouse. There might be some rat in there, but yeah. Then a lot of this stuff is like slug and other insects that might eat the grain that's in this block bait. So, yep, I'll just keep moving. Right around the corner, another one. Here's some old wet mildewy bait, so we'll replace all this and possibly look at moving this. So maybe it's not going to collect water, so I might move it uphill a little bit because it appears to be collecting. So that station was down there by my bait bucket. I moved it uphill here. So some of this with regular and quarterly accounts is kind of figuring out, okay, which stations are going to have the regular activity. You're keeping a log of that, but then also where should we best place a lot of this stuff? And so sometimes you just learn the hard way as you go through the seasons. You're going through, you know, fall, winter, because this is a quarterly, so this is last service late in the season last year. And as the snow melts, snow piles on it, all that stuff, you figure that stuff out and don't be afraid to move them around. And here we're almost to the next one where we've got a garage bay. I've got one on each side here, so the entryway's there. We're within about 10 feet of that because there's some debris and stuff right there, so it's out of the way. Our next entryway here, and you know, you can see there's a lot of debris next to this doorway, and you'll have lots of times you'll get debris. You try and educate the customers so that your stations don't get used as door stops, but that happens, so I try and keep them within 10 feet of entryways or areas where I think they're going to be coming and going. You can see some burrowing right here. Certainly right there to get underneath that concrete pad. And so check this one, and so yep, again, fair amount of activity. We got a little water damage on that one, so obviously we'll replace all these. That's what's in the bottom of these Protecta Evo Expresses. I love them. I've been using them for, gosh, probably close to 15 years now, since they first came out. They've got a paver brick in the bottom, so they're good and heavy. They consider them a tier 1 station. And what that means is that it is, pets can't get to it, it's locked. Humans as well, you need this key to get in there. So, you know, pet friendly, human friendly, meaning people can't get directly to it. And they're actually a pretty sturdy station. They're pretty hard to break. Here we are along another side. So we've got stations all along there. You can see the wood area, the brush along this edge. As you can see, we got another area with another, you know, wooded area. So this whole commercial building has woods and brush kind of around it. And so, you know, lots of harborage areas, mice, rats, things like that can live over in that. Then when it gets cold, they can come directly to the building. They'll show up in one of the stations we showed you had insulation inside of it, because they'll pull the insulation out from underneath here if it has rolled in insulation in the pole building. And so they'll pull that out, use it as nesting material. They'll set up shop in the bait station because nature's very efficient. And if they can set up food, you know, set up shop right next to food and water, you know, they're not going to work hard if they don't have to. So We've got a few right along here. This station had gotten moved apparently. I didn't do that, so I'll go through here, and like I said, I got them all along there. You can see the next one up there, and keep going. All right, finishing up here. As you can see, my old bait bucket is full here, and you'll see some of that bait starts to get old. If it gets wet, it's moldy. I've done this account here for almost 2 years, and so you'll learn where to place stations to try and avoid that, so you don't have wasted bait. But we just replace that as it gets old. Place it out, and so yeah, gonna get finished up here. All right, checking the last one here. So you'll see that a lot. Nesting material, it's right along the edge here. So again, they're gonna set up shop. See if anything's in here. Nope. So we'll remove that debris. Yeah, just nesting material right there. That blue feces right there, that tells us they've fed on this bait. Has an ingredient in it that will turn their feces blue, so we know. So if you're trying to track it or trace it somewhere. But yeah, nature's efficient. They're not gonna work hard if they don't have to. So they'll set up shop right here. They've got food, water. Why go anywhere else? So last one. Alrighty, so just finished up. I'll dispose all that bait, of course, according to label. I'm gonna go through, fill out the service log here of all the stations, how much bait was used, bait blocks, etc. But yeah, that's what it takes there to service a commercial building where you've got 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I've got some accounts with 70, 80 rodent stations along the exterior. Yeah, just got to be diligent. It's really not hard to take care and keep mice or rats out of a place. You just, have to be diligent and just know what you're doing. Once you figure out the pattern, once you have, you've treated a place and had a place on a program for a year or two, you're going to know where those active hotspots are, and you can kind of plan for that. But yeah, other than that, glad to bring you along. Thanks for watching.